Based on a true story, the film begins in June 1968. The main character, teenager Wolfgang, rushes on a moped through the summer streets of his hometown. Along the way, he remembers a summer day on the sea beach with his mother. The guy stops near the house, where he meets friends. At a distance, the adults had a picnic. Among them is the hero's stepfather, with whom they have an extremely strained relationship. A pregnant mother and her little sister bring special cakes with colorful jelly beans to the teenagers. Wolfgang takes his friends to the house to show him an erotic magazine. Their stepfather catches them doing this. Having chased his friend away, he weighs out the bream to the teenager. The mother intervenes in the quarrel. In the next scene, Wolfgang is put into a van that will take him to Freistatt special school. The stepfather does not hide his contentment well, and the mother promises that he will be taken away before Christmas. The teenager is being taken out of town. The credits and landscapes float by as he finishes his mother's special cakes. Upon arrival in picturesque but remote places from civilization, Wolfgang is unloaded along with his suitcase. Director Brockman is pottering around in the neat, well-kept garden. The guy sees a building with strong bars on the windows, probably so that hungry homeless children do not get inside in search of a better life. The director asks the new guy to sing, after which the sweethearts talk, asking about his hobbies. He reviews dossier. The teenager is credited with behaving somewhat worse than he really is. Wolfgang explains that this is his stepfather's tricks. He can't stand him, but among his characteristics, there is also a tendency to lie. The guy is given government clothes in a common shower. The rest of the inmates of the correctional camp come here from work. Teenagers of different ages. They take a shower under the supervision of their elders, whom they call brothers, Vilda and Crap. After washing and changing clothes, the children go to dinner. Wolfgang, who hesitates, is immediately taken away from him a piece of bread. At the same time, he notices the injustice in the distribution of portions. Bernd, the leader among the local schoolboys, has more than the rest. After the prayer, the children begin their meal. Looking at the slop they are fed, Wolfgang compares the balanda to the teacher's dinner. They clearly don't skimp on food. When Bernd literally gives Vilda a light, they're allowed to talk. A black fellow countryman, Anton, tries to make friends with the new guy, but their conversation is interrupted. In the evening, Wolfgang witnesses the boy being punished for a violation, which is why everyone's dinner was cut. The culprit is smeared with gutolin, but the hero stands up for him, for which Bernd beats him and smears his face with wax. When everyone is left, Wolfgang wants to talk to the guy he stood up for, but he aggressively shoos him away. The children sleep in the shared bedroom, where Brother Crab watches them through the window. The hero hides a photo of his mother from a summer walk on the beach under his pillow. Later, Anton approaches him. He offers to become his sidekick and share food and cigarettes in exchange for protection, but Wolfgang is not interested. In the morning, the pupils are lined up in a line. The director comes out. After the greeting, he tells them to break into song and march. This is how the children go to work. On 2 rail cars, they travel to the peat bogs. Unable to influence anything along the way, Wolfgang, like Gordon Freeman, stares around. On peat deposits, students cut briquettes for subsequent loading and sale. The new guy wears uncomfortable slippers instead of rubber boots. He asks for boots, but Vilda hits him in the face with a shovel for his impudence and almost drowns him in the mud. You even have to intervene with the rap. On the way back, Wolfgang jams the mechanism of the trolley with his belt and runs away. He falls into a swamp window, almost drowns, but manages to get out. Vilda and his dog follow in his footsteps, but the guy manages to reach the spreading swamp. He tries to make his way along it, but ends up in a quagmire where he gets stuck. Vilda calls the fugitive home. There's nowhere to run anyway. The guys in the shower take turns beating Wolfgang. For educational purposes, of course. Later, Crap puts the new guy to bed without saying anything to the others. Bernd explains that there are rules here, and they must be followed. The hero objects that he will soon be taken away, but most of the locals were promised something similar by their parents. Some have been here for several years, and Brockman psychologically breaks the rebellious ones. In the morning, the pupils are taken to church, where Wolfgang notices Angelica, the director's daughter. She lives nearby, but she is forbidden to communicate with the children from the orphanage. After another working day of extracting and loading peat briquettes for sale, Brother Crap allows the students to stop the rail cars and swim in a swamp area with relatively clean water, which characterizes it on the positive side. Children are allowed to write a letter home, of course, under dictation, so that the unauthorized expression of thoughts does not cast a shadow on a decent institution. In the process, Wolfgang hides a piece of pencil for his own use. Later, while working in the director's garden, he sees the chain of a bicycle passing by Angelique fall off. While no one is looking, he goes to the girl. Putting the chain back in place, he asks her to send the letter home. The girl agrees, but demands a favor in return. She puts the guy's hand on her chest. Brockman finds them doing this interesting activity. The girl immediately turns on the mode of offended innocence and attacks the hero with her fists. Angered by the attention paid to his daughter by the pupil director, he leaves everyone without dinner. Encouraged by a successful agreement with Angelica, Wolfgang will boast that he can get food from the carefully guarded garden plot. He sneaks into the garden, where he fills his pockets with fresh tomatoes. For the second time that day, Brockman catches the guy getting loose with something he cares about so much and almost drowns him in a bucket of water, after which he instructs Vilda to give the guy a good beating. The lifeless Wolfgang is brought to the restroom. He holds a sink tomato in his gnarled hand. Formally, he kept his promise, which earned him the respect of the other children. On weekends, pupils in the recreation room listen to music on the radio and have fun. Director Brockman appears. He found a letter from his daughter, which he told Wolfgang to read aloud. This is his letter given to Angelica. As punishment, the director takes away Anton's radio. The insulted boy sings himself. Wolfgang supports his comrade. And soon the rest of the children begin to sing along, crowding in a row and tapping the rhythm. The crab reports to the director, but in the office he opened Wolfgang's parcel with those same cakes and offers a piece to the teacher. After the song Riot, the guys sit in a damp basement. Bernd says that those who end up here are usually not remembered by their parents. Their parents don't even write them letters. During the Christmas service in the church, when the donation bag was passed around, Angelica passed the key through it to Wolfgang. At the festive dinner, they bring him yeast cakes stolen from the church. The hero understands that the director is opening the mail. At this time, one boy gives Brother Crab a homemade gift, which serves as the occasion for the announcement. Crab resigned from his position as a teacher. The news shocks the boy. He says that Crab can't do this, that he didn't tell anyone anything. From this hysteria, the adults understand that there was some hazing between them. The speck is weighed out and driven away. To smooth out the awkwardness, the priest offers to sing. Taking advantage of this, Wolfgang escapes, sneaking towards the exit along a dark, gloomy corridor on tiptoe like a thief. But he doesn't have time to get out. The director's hand rests on his shoulder. As punishment, the teenager is hanged in the basement. In his unconsciousness, he imagines a summer day with his mother on the beach, full of clearly erotic motives. When the tortured hero is released, they already have a new teacher. Later, while dragging logs in the forest, Angelica rides up to the students on horseback. She dismounts to chat with the hero, driving Anton away at the same time, and says that she is leaving to study, far away from here. The girl kisses the guy, but when he naturally decides to develop events, he again turns on the mode of insulted innocence and runs away. While working on the peat, Vilde mocks one of the pupils. Wolfgang, taking advantage of the opportunity, hits him on the head with a shovel and calls on everyone to run away. But the children remain in place, all except Anton. They even help Vilde, who threatens to kill the hero. Teenagers run through a wetland. In the process, Anton loses both boots in the quagmire, but he is allowed to break through further. When it got dark, they reached an abandoned railway line, along which they went to a village, where they spent the night in a barn. In the morning, the fugitives see the owner loading a horse into a cart and climbing in after him. The car brings them to their hometown. Dirty and tattered, they walk through the streets. Having reached home, Wolfgang says goodbye to Anton, but he remains with him. He's not really from here, and he has no relatives. But the hero can't mess with him. Now he has to solve his own problems with his mother and stepfather. Wolfgang drives Anton away, finally giving away the change from his pockets. In the window, he notices a mother whose third child was born during this time. The stepfather, of course, is not happy about the guest and wants to call the boarding school, but the teenager does not allow him to do this. Wolfgang says that he almost died there. He does not have time to tell about the true situation, what to do, being drawn to breakfast when the doorbell rings. Director Brockman is on the doorstep. He was informed that the fugitive was here, and his car was outside with Anton inside. Frightened, he huddles in a corner and shouts that he will not return. It almost comes to a fight with his stepfather, but it ends in a compromise. The mother will see for herself what is going on in the boarding school. Having reached Freistatt, Wolfgang gets out of the car. However, the mother and stepfather lock the doors. They weren't going to go out. The guy lifts up his sweater to show his bruises, but his mother drives off anyway, leaving him behind. The hero runs after him, but to no avail. Wilda, who lost an eye after being hit with a shovel, grabs Wolfgang. He leads him into the forest with Bernd. Why is Anton watching from the window? Having driven further away from the tire, the teacher takes the fugitive into the thicket, where he orders him to dig a hole. Wilda then tells Bernd to tie Wolfgang up and bury him alive. He reluctantly agrees. But when the teenager accuses his friend of cowardice, he refuses. Wilda has to throw earth at the offender himself. Having completed the task, they move away. Later, the director comes to the freshly buried grave. He digs up the lifeless Wolfgang, who comes to his senses and has a nervous fit in his arms. The next morning, Wolfgang wakes up in the shared bedroom to Bernd's voice. He reads a letter that says that someone will be taken away by their parents tomorrow. This is Anton's letter found on his body. He hanged himself at night. Wilda comes into the bedroom. Noticing the body, he calls Anton a weakling and tells the others to go wash up. The children silently surround him. Bernd pushes the teacher in the chest. Realizing that things are bad, Wilda tries to reconcile them. The teenagers start beating him. Everyone except Wolfgang, who frankly doesn't care, including the hanged traitor Anton. Taking the keys from the beaten wild, the children run away. Bernd takes the teacher's clothes and asks the hero if he will run with them, but he remains next to the body of his former friend. The action moves to August 1970. Wolfgang gives Wilda's one-eyed man a light, acting as the elder. After breakfast, everyone goes out to formation, but the hero is left in the building. In the next scene, he is walking towards the van with his suitcase, past the director's garden. The stepfather died, and now no one pays for the teenager's upkeep, so he is sent home. After exchanging money with a new plump guy, he gets into the van. The guys drop off right next to the house. He goes to the backyard, where his sister's voice is heard. There's a table set with those same jelly bean pastries on it. The family prepares to welcome him. A baby, his brother, comes out into the yard. Looking at him, Wolfgang takes one cake and leaves before anyone notices. A guy is met by old friends on the street. He borrows money from them. They call him themselves, but Wolfgang lies that he will be at home. The girl next door, who is now dating one of them, threatens to come by later. Her boyfriend notices the signature cake and, without asking, grabs it from the hero's hand. He, according to the habit he developed during his time in the boarding school, instantly punches him in the body and nose. Realizing that there is no understanding here, Wolfgang runs away. In the last scene, he is on a train and sticks his head out the window. Railcars of Freistatt students fly by below, but the hero, blown by the wind of freedom, rides forward to a new life, devoid of attachments and responsibilities. The film ends with a historical note that until the 70s, Freistatt was considered one of the harshest boarding schools. In Germany, there were about 3,000 such institutions, and about 800,000 teenagers lived in them. The decision to compensate for moral damage to former students was made in 2010. Now Freistatt is quite a modern boarding school. At least that's what they say.